You know what's wild? It's the biggest red flags in a relationship are usually the ones we explain away. Oh, she's just tired. He's under a lot of pressure. We keep making excuses while something inside us screams that something's not right. It's like we re-wearing emotional blinders and hoping the pain will just go away on its own. But here's the harsh truth. The red flags we ignore in the beginning usually become the exact reasons we break down later. And I get it, no one wants to admit they're settling or being mistreated. Sometimes facing the truth feels worse than staying stuck, but if you've ever found yourself asking, is this normal? Then this video is for you, because today, we're diving deep. Not into the obvious stuff like cheating or yelling, but into the subtle red flags, the ones that slowly eat away at your soul. And by the end, you'll probably see yourself, or someone you love, in more than one of these signs. Ready, chapter 1? You always feel like you're walking on eggshells when you feel like you're constantly tiptoeing around your partner, watching your tone. Even your facial expressions, it's a major red flag. Healthy relationships shouldn't feel like a minefield. If you're scared of starting a fight just by being yourself, you're not in a safe space, emotionally. A lot of people confuse respect with fear. But if you feel nervous just being honest, it's not respect, it's suppression. Maybe you avoid certain topics, pretend you're okay, or downplay your emotions just to keep the peace. That's not love. That's survival mode. One client once told me she'd to rehearse how to say things before bringing them up to her boyfriend, just to avoid being blamed or dismissed. That's not normal. You're supposed to breathe freely, not hold your breath 24/7. And if this feels familiar, wait until we get to what comes next. Chapter 2. They're always joking, but you end up hurt. Ever had someone say something that stung, and when you called it out, they hit you with, "Relax, it was just a joke." Classic emotional manipulation in disguise. These jokes often target your insecurities, but they're framed as playful, so you look like the sensitive one if you get upset. Here's the thing. Real humor brings people closer. It's never used to belittle or humiliate. If you leave these conversations feeling smaller or less confident, it's not harmless teasing, it's a power move. They're testing your limits, seeing what they can get away with. I've seen this play out in couples where one partner always ends up the butt of the joke. It starts with funny comments about looks, intelligence, or habits, but deep down, it chips away at self-esteem. If they laugh while you're hurting, that's no joke. It's cruelty with a smile. Chapter 3. They never take responsibility for anything. If you always the one apologizing, even when it wasn't your fault, there's a problem. People who can't take responsibility are masters at flipping the script. Suddenly, you're the crazy one, the dramatic one. It's the one who overreacts to everything. It's exhausting. You start questioning your reality, wondering if maybe you are too sensitive. Spoiler, you're not. A partner who truly values you will own up to their mistakes. They'll say, "Yeah, I messed up," without turning it into a guilt trip about how you made them feel bad. A guy once told me his girlfriend would cry every time he brought up a concern. Not because she was hurt, but to shift the spotlight. He ended up comforting her for something she did wrong. Manipulation isn't always loud. Sometimes it whispers with tears. Chapter 4. You're more anxious than happy. If being in this relationship makes you feel more anxious than peaceful, that's your gut talking. Listen to it. Love isn't supposed to feel like a roller coaster of confusion, waiting for the next argument, or wondering if you're being too much. There's a difference between butterflies and anxiety. Butterflies are cute. Anxiety keeps you up at night replaying convos, overthinking texts, and trying to read between the lines. If that's your daily reality, you're not in love, you're in limbo. I remember someone saying, "I used to feel safer alone than with them." That hit hard, because when love makes you feel unsafe, it's no longer love. It's a cage dressed as comfort. But the worst part, start calling it normal. Chapter 5. They isolate you subtly. It doesn't always start with "stop talking to your friends." It starts with little comments. "Your best friend doesn't like me," or "your mom's always so judgmental." Slowly, your world gets smaller, and before you know it, it's just you and them. Control doesn't always come in the form of yelling. Sometimes it comes through guilt. They make you feel bad for wanting to see family, hang out with old friends, or even just be alone. Little by little, you start losing your support system. One woman told me her partner used to fake illness every time she made plans without him. At first, it felt like love, like he couldn't be without her. But later, she realized it was control wearing the mask of affection. And once she woke up, she saw how lonely she'd become. Chapter 6. They make you feel like you're never enough. You try harder. You give more. You bend over backwards. But somehow it's never enough. So they always find a way to make you feel like you're falling short, like if you just changed a little more, they'd finally be happy. That's not love. It's conditional validation. And the worst part is, you start internalizing it. You begin to believe that you're the problem, that if you were smarter, prettier, calmer, funnier, maybe then they'd treat you better. Let me tell you something. Someone who truly loves you, 1T, make you feel like you in a constant audition. They'll accept your growth, sure, but they won't weaponize your flaws. And if this hits close to home, wait till we unpack the next pattern. Chapter 7. Everything revolves around them. Their problems are always bigger. Their needs always come first. Their bad days mean you have to walk on eggshells. When you need support, crickets. Or worse, you're being too needy. This imbalance turns into a one-way street where you're always the listener, the fixer, the emotional punching bag. And after a while, you forget what it's like to be cared for. Your emotional needs start to feel like burdens, things to hide instead of share. Someone once described it as dating a black hole. No matter how much you give, it's never enough to fill them. And in the process, you become drained, empty, and lost. But here's the twist. They still call it love. Chapter 8. They gaslight you constantly. You bring up something that happened, and suddenly, that never happened, or you're remembering it wrong, or worse, you're so dramatic. Over time, you start doubting your own memory, your instincts, and even your sanity. This is gaslighting, and it's one of the most dangerous emotional red flags. It makes you feel like you can't trust yourself anymore. You start relying on them to define what's real and what's not. And that's exactly how control works. Not with force, but confusion. Someone once said, "I stopped fighting because I wasn't even sure I was right anymore." That's what gaslighting does. It doesn't just silence your voice. It makes you forget you even had one. And if that's happening, it's not a rough patch, it's emotional abuse. Chapter 9. They use your past against you. You opened up. You trusted them with your wounds, your fears, your stories. But now, they throw them back at you in every argument. The stuff you told them in confidence becomes ammunition. That's betrayal, not love. When someone uses your vulnerability as a weapon, they're showing you they were never truly safe. It's manipulative, it's cruel, and it destroys emotional intimacy faster than anything else. One guy shared that every time he brought up an issue, his girlfriend would say, "At least I'm not like your ex." She knew how badly he'd been treated before. Instead of protecting that pain, she exploited it. That's not a partner. It's a trigger with a pretty face. Chapter 10. You keep hoping they'll go back to how they were. In the beginning, it was magic. They were kind, attentive, affectionate. Yet somewhere along the way, that version of them disappeared. And now you're stuck chasing memories, not reality. This is a huge red flag when you fall in love with someone's potential, or with the version they used to be. We cling to the hope that if we're patient, if we love them enough, they'll change back. But that's not how healthy love works. One person told me, "I stayed because I kept waiting for the person I met to come back." But what if that person was never real to begin with? Or what if it was just a mask they wore to hook you in? Either way, you deserve consistency. I'm an emotional bait and switch. Chapter 11. You're constantly making excuses for them. He's just stressed. She didn't mean it. They're going through a lot. Sound familiar? When you find yourself explaining away their behavior to your friends, your family, or even to yourself, it's time to take a hard look. Yes, we all have rough days. But if you're always covering for them, justifying hurtful actions, or defending the indefensible, it means you're protecting their image more than your own peace. I've seen people lose themselves trying to hold on to someone who keeps breaking them. The excuses pile up, but the wounds keep getting deeper. And eventually, you don't even recognize who you've become. That's not loyalty. That's self-abandonment. Chapter 12. You're afraid to leave because you feel too invested. You've given so much time, energy, Love that leaving feels like losing everything. You think I can't start over? Or worse, what if no one else wants me? That fear keeps you stuck, even when you know this isn't right. But here's the truth. Just because you've invested a lot dose in tea, mean you owe them your future. Staying in something that's breaking you, just because it once made you happy, is like refusing to throw away rotten food, because it used to taste good. Someone once said, I stayed because I didn't want to admit I made a mistake. But let me tell you, choosing yourself isn't failure, it's freedom. And it's never too late to start choosing peace over pain. Conclusion now, tell me how many of these hit a nerve. If even a few sounded too familiar, that's not something to ignore. And no, it doesn't mean you're weak or broken. It means you've been strong for too long in the wrong direction. We're not here to shame anyone. We're here to wake up. Because once you see the red flags, you can't unsee them. And once you start honoring your worth, everything changes. You don't just leave bad relationships, you stop attracting them altogether. So take a deep breath, look in the mirror, and ask yourself not what they want, not what they need, but what you truly deserve. If this video gave you clarity, pass it on. You never know who else needs a wake-up call today.